So, if you're into fighting games, you've probably heard someone online talk about Shotos. Maybe you've been fighting one in Street Fighter 6 and thought, wait, what even is a Shoto? It's one of those fighting game terms everyone uses, but not everyone can clearly define. So today, let's talk about it. What exactly is a Shoto? Where did the term come from? And how did this one character archetype shape the design of almost every single fighting game ever made?
Bet. Extra hot, just like we said.
In fighting games, a Shoto, short for Shotokan, refers to a character that's built around the iconic moveset pioneered by Ryu from Street Fighter. At their core, Shotos have three essential tools. A fireball, usually a projectile that travels horizontally across the screen. Think of Ryu's Hadouken. It controls space, keeps opponents at bay, and lets you dictate the pace of the match. A rising uppercut, typically invincible and used to stop airborne attacks. That's the Shoryuken, a move that screams, "Don't jump at me." And finally, we have a spinning kick that moves forward, often crossing the screen and deals multiple hits. The Tatsumaki Senpyukaku, or Hurricane Kick. Put these three tools together and you get a character who can play at almost any range, respond to almost any situation, and teach players the fundamental rhythm of a fighting game: zoning, anti-airs, and pressure. Because of that, Shotos are often considered an all-arounder archetype. They are well balanced, easy to learn, and reward good fundamentals rather than fancy gimmicks. The word Shoto actually comes from the word Shotokan karate, a real-world martial art founded by Gichin Funakoshi. It emphasizes strong stances, linear strikes, and clean form. So, when Capcom designed Ryu and Ken back in 1987, they were loosely inspired by this karate style, at least in theory. In practice though, the moves quickly became way more fantastical. We're talking about fireballs, flying kicks, and uppercuts that send opponents flying into the orbit. But still, the word stuck. Fans started calling Ryu and Ken Shotos as a shorthand for their fighting styles, even though their techniques would make real karate master faint on the spot. So, over many years and over time, the term Shoto stopped being about the martial arts accuracy and became more about the design archetype. It describes any character who had that same basic toolkit, a projectile, an anti-air, and a mobility move. The original Street Fighter II from 1991 truly defined what a Shoto is. You had Ryu, the stoic martial artist who fights for mastery, and Ken, his flashy American rival who does everything Ryu can, but faster and with more style. Ryu represents the pure Shoto, balanced, deliberate, and methodical. Ken is the aggressive Shoto, faster, riskier, and designed for players who want to go on the offense. Then came Akuma in Super Street Fighter II Turbo. He's the dark Shoto, built around power and speed, but with glass cannon health. He can teleport, throw double fireballs, and punish mistakes brutally. Akuma introduced a new idea, that Shotos could evolve beyond this being simple starting characters. They could be complex, high-risk, high-reward monsters. And from there, the floodgates opened. Sakura arrived as a more agile but shorter range Shoto. Sean tried, and mostly failed, to be the next generation Shoto. And in modern Street Fighter 6, Luke acts as a reimagining of the archetype, mixing classic zoning and anti-airs with a bit of an MMA-inspired close-range combos. But it's not just Street Fighter. As the new fighting game genre grew, the Shoto blueprint spread far beyond the confines of Street Fighter. Developers everywhere recognized how effective this kind of character was for teaching players the basics. The fireball covers horizontal space, the uppercut covers vertical space, and the spin kick or rush move closes distance. It's a perfect recipe for balance. In King of Fighters, Kyo Kusanagi has a projectile, a rising punch, and fast fiery kicks. Sound familiar? In Guilty Gear, Sol Badguy's Gunflame acts as a fireball, his Volcanic Viper, basically a Shoryuken, and his Bandit Bringer or Bandit Revolver mimics that forward kick pressure. Even in Super Smash Bros., Mario fits the template. He's got fireballs, an uppercut, and a spinning attack. The Shoto's DNA is everywhere. It's not tied to a single series anymore. It's become a universal fighting game language. Shotos are nowadays the backbone of fighting game design for a reason. They're the best teachers. When you play Ryu, you learn everything that makes fighting games tick. You learn how to control space with fireballs, how to anti-air jump-ins with an uppercut, how to manage risk because throwing out the wrong move at the wrong time gets you punished. You also learn about spacing, timing, and reading your opponent. Do they like to jump? Throw a fireball and bait them. Do they wait too much? Dash in and start pressure. Every lesson in fighting games can be taught through Ryu. Of course, not all Shotos play the same way anymore. Over the years, the archetype has branded into subtypes. Traditional Shotos like Ryu and Luke keep that well-rounded toolkit. Aggressive Shotos like Ken or Kyo emphasize speed and combos. Glass cannon Shotos like Akuma or Evil Ryu sacrifice health for power. And there's even some beginner Shotos, maybe like Sakura, simplifying inputs, focusing slightly more on mobility. And we have even parody Shotos like Dan Hibiki, the ultimate joke character, created as a playful jab at King of Fighters, but still somehow beloved by fans. Now what's really wild is that even joke characters like Dan still teach fundamentals, they're just wrapped in humor. There's something deeper about why the Shoto resonates so much with players. Ryu's journey, always training, always seeking strength, never satisfied, mirrors kinda how fighting game players improve. You start with the basics, grind matchups, learn your mistakes, and slowly master the art. The Shoto represents the same kind of journey. They don't rely on fancy tricks or wild mechanics, they rely on solid decision making. That's why no matter how complex fighting games become, there's always a Ryu-type character anchoring the roster. They are a constant reminder, skill and patience will always matter more than flashy gimmicks. As fighting games evolve, the Shoto evolves too. In Street Fighter 6, Luke takes over as the new poster boy, more aggressive, more modern, but still rooted in the same core ideas. In Guilty Gear Strive, Sol Badguy is still teaching players spacing and punishment. Even games like DNF Duel and Granblue Fantasy Versus have their own Shoto-style characters because every fighting game needs that starter template character, that bridge between new players and mastery. The Shoto archetype isn't going anywhere. It's too effective, too iconic, and too integral now to how games teach and balance themselves. So what is a Shoto? It's more than just a guy who throws fireballs, it's the beating heart of the fighting game genre. A design that's lasted for over 3 decades now because it perfectly captures the balance between simplicity and depth. From Ryu's humble beginnings in 1987 to modern reimaginings like Luke, the Shoto has become more than a character type, more than an archetype. It's a symbol of fundamentals, mastery, and the idea that true strength comes from practice. So next time you playing a Shoto, remember, you're not just playing a character, you're learning the language that built this whole genre. You're learning the fundamentals. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. I will be releasing more fighting game videos, probably for the rest of the time. So, tell me in the comments, who's your favorite Shoto? Why? Are you Team Ryu or Team Ken? Or maybe you're just a bit more crazy, a bit more demonic. Maybe you like Akuma. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.